The humble beginnings of NFL football have roots right here in the Quad Cities, and today the annual event to honor those roots returns to the birthplace of it all, historic Douglas Park. It's the 2022 Quad Cities Vintage Football Game between the Rock Island Independents and the Moline Universal Tractors, next on MC22. And welcome back to historic Douglas Park in Rock Island, Illinois for the annual Vintage Football Game. We've got 1920s style football on the way for you today between the Rock Island Independents and Moline Universal Tractors. I'm Redrick Terry alongside lead vintage football analyst Steve Campbell. We're glad you're with us today as we return here to Douglas Park. Steve, a great day for football.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And what better way to spend it here than here in Rock Island for a throwback to the NFL's beginnings over 100 years ago. Today's game is going to commemorate that first game over a century ago, and it's going to be right here at Douglas Park.
Yeah, a lot of history here. We're going to get into all that a little bit later, but of course, again, we are back here at Douglas Park after being at Hallberg Estates Park a year ago while this place was going through renovations. A lot of renovations done, a lot more to come. MC22's Devin Crispin has more on what it took to get the field ready for today's game.
It's time to strap up the leather helmets and break out the sweaters. The 7th annual Quad Cities Vintage Football Game is back and returns to its roots at Douglas Park here in Rock Island. Home to former NFL team the Rock Island Independents, in 1920, Douglas Park became the site of the first official NFL game. Douglas Park in recent years has been going through numerous renovations with some work still to do. Over the past few years though, the park has upgraded its dugout, scoreboard, parking lot, and a new large ball field with turf. The vintage football game was played at Hallberg Estates Park last year and changed how the field was prepared.
There's more space at Hallberg Field than here. And it's all open on the sides, so you don't have to worry too much about light poles or fences being in the way. So it gives you some more lateral that you can fit it in there. But the ground is harder at Hallberg than it is here. When they built this place, it's on sand, so the ground is pretty soft, which makes some things easier.
Rock Island Parks and Rec Sports Facility Manager David Driscoll has been preparing the field for the vintage game since it first started in 2015. It's a long 2-day process that involves more work than some realize.
First, it's a layout and paint the basics. Then you do a little bit of the artistry, which is pretty simple for the day. Set up the goals and then benches, stuff that would be needed for the support groups. The easiest part is actually painting it. The hardest part is laying it out and getting it right so you have enough sidelines for safety for the players and it looks good. That'll be the most planning and getting ready. Once you get down and putting the paint down, that's the easiest part.
This year the game is being played on the multi-purpose field instead of the original spot. David likes to be careful with the original field and avoid any unnecessary damage. Nonetheless, David still makes sure to give the multi-purpose field that 1920s nostalgic feel.
The setting is a little more natural and basic than the football fields nowadays. Here at Douglas Park, the field is modified a little bit to fit into the space that's available, whether it be the current one or the first one back on the big field. We make it just a little bit smaller to fit in than a full-size field. It's going to be 80 yards plus 2 10-yard end zones and like 45 yards wide. I'd like to do something interesting with the end zones. They're not going to have the team's names on them, but it'll have just some basic lines. And because it's on a natural gas and it probably would have gone, and at that time it would have been a little more rough, we let the grass grow a little longer than we would, which makes it a little slower game. It's harder for the speedsters to run down the field.
This simple yet original feel really helps the players get into the spirit of the history of this event. Everyone's getting the chance to play at the same park as Independence Hall of Famers Jimmy Kozelman, Ed Healy, Joe Guyon, Jim Thorpe, and Duke Slater. David also gets the chance to participate in the game as a player. And it's this joy for football that leads to his love for preparing football fields.
I love doing the football fields. It's part of fall. It's fun. Football fields are different. We don't do them that often, so and they're easier than doing a rugby field. So I like doing the football fields. It's a nice. It's something that you look forward to.
Reporting for MC22, I'm Devin Chrisman.
Yeah, lots of renovations done, and it looks great. We're ready just about for football here at Douglas Park in Rock Island. Now, coming up a little bit later, we will discuss the impact of this game, the community, and the players. Obviously very important to a lot of folks around here and across the football world. And, of course, we've got a game as well. We'll bring it to you all coming up here on MC22. Welcome back to historic Douglas Park, the 2022 Quad Cities Vintage Football Game. Steve, we talked earlier about the renovations and changes to Douglas Park. Now let's get into a bit of a history lesson.
Yeah, Ritter, let's get right into it. So the National Football League officially formed August 20th, 1920, and was originally called the American Professional Football Association, or the APFA. The league changed its name to the NFL that we know today in 1922. So shortly after the AFPA was formed in 1920, the Rock Island Independents played a non-league opponent, the St. Paul Ideals, on September 26, 1920, and the Independents won that game 48-0.
Yeah, good game there for the Independents. Now, Rock Island's football roots can be traced back to 1902, when the Independents beat the Davenport Standards 6-0. The Independents' first documented full season was in 1907, and by 1919, the Independents were one of the elite football teams in the nation, which is why Rock Island was invited to join the NFL.
The Independents went 2-1-3 in their first full season in 1907, and they outscored their opponents 82-12. Then in 1919, the Independents finished 9-1-1. They shut out and beat every team they faced from Ohio. The Independents challenged Jim Thorpe's Canton Bulldogs, who were 10-0, to a game to settle the title. After ongoing discussions over a month, Thorpe said his team dispersed for the season. Canton and Rock Island both claimed the championship, but it was that 1919 season that helped the Independents become one of the charter members of the APFA in 1920. During the APFA NFL years, the Independents posted a 42-14-13 record. Then in 1926, Rock Island made the ill-fated decision to leave the NFL and join the AFL, and just 1 year later, the league and team both folded.
All right, let's toss it down now to John Marks and Randy Dees for starting lineups and game announcements.
Are you ready for your introduction of your players? First, for the Moline Universal Tractors. Number 17, Luke Shattuck. Number 5, Joe Shattuck. Number 10, Doug Noe. Number 17, Luke Shattuck. Number 5, Joe Shattuck. Number 2, Cole McCarty. Number 1, and the all-time season leader in points at the University of Northern Iowa, they told me to say that, Michael Schmadtke. Number 9, Robert Pitts. Number 12, Brendan Fouch. Number 15, Trey Miranda. Number 31, Luke Cooley. Number 13, Adam Flores. And number 6, Caden Fouch. Ladies and gentlemen, your Moline Universal Tractors. And now, your Rock Island Independents. Number 51, David Driscoll. Number 20, Mike Enholm. Number 6, D'Angelo Allison. Number 17, Simon Herrera. Number 22, Jared Riquet. Number 5, Sam Greenspan. Number 4, Roy Sy. Number 15, Chad Wisham. Number 9, Ethan Blaze. Number 13, Alex Stefanich. Number 12, Drew Davis. Number 7, and you all know him and love him, our own Slaughterhouse. Ladies and gentlemen, your Rock Island Independents. Our referees, as we mentioned, Dave Lang and Josh Stefanich. We have special guests with us today we'd like to introduce. Sandy Widerquist and family. She's a daughter of Rock Island Independent and Moline Universal Tractor great, Chet Widerquist. Chet's grandson is also playing today, Mike Engholm. Also like to introduce Barbara Creed and family, granddaughter of Coach Dick Litt, who coached the Independents from 1912 to 1914. And now we're honored to have Rock Island High School senior Brennan Hampton lead us in the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Great job. Nicely done. Great job. Thank you.
You heard the anthem, and now it's time for football. Vintage football returns to Douglas Park when you return for the Quad Cities annual Vintage football game on MC 22.
Team, call
All
it
right,
in the air.
call in the air. Tails. It is tails.
We'll take the ball.
All right. Take the ball. And they'll defend. We'll defend this side. Okay. We're going to kick off this way. Kick this way. Let them know which way you're going.
This way. All right. All right, we're kicking. Kicking off this way.
We are all set for kickoff here. The annual Vintage football game version number 7 gets underway with a booming Rock Island kick, and it bounces out of the end zone. And that's where Moline will start. They'll get underway at the 20-yard line. Remember last year, this game that, again, took place at Hallberg Estates, it was a ferocious Moline comeback. They ended up coming back from 10 down and winning 13-10. So they're looking to get another win here, this time back where it all started, beautiful Douglas Park.
Yeah, went down to the wire last year, and no reason to expect anything different this year. Everyone's trying to get things figured out right at the start of the game. Where should the ball go? And that's right, they do put it on the 10 after a touchback. So, and touchbacks, obviously, on kickoffs, that's something. But one of the really interesting rules about this game, if an incomplete pass is thrown into the end zone, it's considered a touchback and the ball goes to the defense. So something to keep an eye on as this game moves along here this afternoon.
Yeah, lots of different rules to go along with this game. We will bring those to you as we move along throughout them. But first, it'll be a first down. And, of course, first downs, how they work here in this game. 20, 40, and 20. Those are the yard marks you have to reach for a first down. It starts with a run to the outside and a good run up the sideline. That was Brendan Fouch, who had a good game last year as well with the Moline Universal Tractors, and gets a good game here on first down. And speaking of the rules, here we go right here.
Yeah, here are some of the fun ones. 9-on-9 flag football is what we'll have here today. 80-yard field, so as you mentioned, the 20, 40, and 20. First downs, 20-minute quarters with a running clock. And the goalposts are on the goal line, something that obviously is very different from today's football. Hash is 10 yards from the sideline. That's where the ball will be placed on and out of bounds. And there's that end zone incompletion on touchback that we just mentioned. And for an extra point, you can place kick it or you can drop kick it, and that'll be for 2 points. So things just a little bit different than the typical football you're used to seeing either on a Friday night, a Saturday in the college level, or Sundays with the NFL getting going right this week.
Second offensive play for Moline is another run, and short gain this time on first down, as Michael Schmadke was on the carry that time. Yeah, you mentioned kind of different from the different styles of football we see. Something always that has interested me in this game, the players that you see here on the field, they come from a variety of different football backgrounds. Some have played high school, some have played on the college level, some have played on the semi-pro level, and some are just out there for the love of the game. You get a little bit of a mix of everything here.
You do, and also you have guys that are from the Quad Cities and born and bred here, and then guys have kind of come from some other places as well. And one of the leaders of this, Simon Herrera, actually actually lives in Nashville now and still comes back and gets things done here in the Quad Cities for this game.
Started to run, now he'll take off, and a little bit of contact there. Of course, a little incidental contact. That has been known to happen every now and then in this ball game. Just a short gain there, though, on second to bring up third down.
Doug Noe acting at quarterback for the Moline Universal Tractors in this game. And yeah, on the Rock Island side, D'Angelo Allison, I don't think he was trying to make a tackle there or anything, just trying to hold him up, but momentum keeps going one way or another, and before you know it, both guys falling down to the turf here at Douglas Park.
So here comes a third down here for the Universal Tractors. They've got to get the ball to the 40-yard line for a fresh set of downs, which also serves as midfield on this modified football field. First third down test either way here. Roll out, pressure, now to the far sideline, and now a late throw down the field into traffic and incomplete. Michael Schmadke was down there for Moline, and it'll be fourth down.
Going for that first down again at midfield, and the ball that they use, and we'll talk about it throughout the day, it's definitely not your typical football. It's that kind of melon style football that was common back in the 1920s when football really kind of started and got going at the professional level. But this one, these guys have a little bit of a tough time getting a hold on that, catching it. We saw a lot of that in warm-ups, trying to throw it deep, trying to see what they can do, as it's definitely a different type of football than anyone's used to using.
Certainly, yeah. Just very interesting, as you mentioned, watching warm-ups, trying to see these guys trying to get used to that very sizable football. Obviously not used to that in our modern-day game, as that's a booming punt. Look at that one. All the way back inside the 20, and now a return here for the Independents, and a good return for Jared Requette. Gets out across midfield, and a good start for Rock Island as they'll get their first possession of the game right near midfield at the 40-yard line.
And you saw one of the unique parts with the kicking is they have to say specifically that they're going to kick, and so there's no attempt to block it or anything like that, and then everyone has to remain at the line of scrimmage until the ball's kicked. So changes things up a little bit, but actually for kickers, they like this ball because there's a lot more air to it. It's almost in a way like kicking a soccer ball more than it is a football. not as much of an end over end, more of kind of a rotational side of things with the ball like this. But where it's set up for Rock Island, just a couple yards to pick up that first down at the 40. One of the unique sides of this thing, you don't need a specific amount. As long as you hit that 20 or the 40, you get a first down.
Simon Herrera, the quarterback, the leader, the organizer of a lot of the things you see here year in and year out. He does so much work. A handoff up the middle there, and it goes for a short gain, if any, and it will set up a second down. We will talk to Simon a little bit later on in this broadcast, as we always enjoy doing, just getting some insight onto what all goes into putting this game together. It is certainly a big effort, and it's an effort that we certainly appreciate. Speaking of guests, special guests, we've got our first one here sitting with us, somebody who's really familiar. It's Mayor Mike Tomes here, the mayor of Rock Island. So, Mayor, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Wouldn't miss it. I was a little late, but
that's okay.
You made it, and that's what matters out here.
We made it. What a great tradition this is.
Yeah, talk about it. I mean, obviously, professional football has such a big hold here in Rock Island, such great history. Tell me what it's like to kind of be here and be able to have events like this to honor that tradition.
You know, it is fun to see. And I just talked to a few people walking around here from out of town, and they come here every year to watch this. COVID's kind of screwed things up for a little while, so it's great to see everybody here again. But it's a great tradition. You know, so many people, it's amazing when I'm out talking to them, they didn't realize the first NFL football game was played here. And so we talk about that, we talk about the draft. But it just is exciting to see it happen in reenactment and really play some history, you know. There's a lot of history here in Rock Island, and this is one important part of it.
I think that's one of the most unique things that people don't know about, even the Quad Cities and Rock Island especially. That's something that has turned into the NFL, began right here. And I think when people learn about that, it's kind of almost a sense of pride. Is that what you kind of hear as well?
I hear the same thing. And they always say, well, where was it? I don't know where they would play. And it's like Douglas Park. And some people aren't even sure where that is, and we teach them that. But that's exactly right. It was here. There, you know, Hallis was down here. You know, you get the history from the Packers and the Bears that played here. And, of course, the Independents.
And we got a good run here and a first down and more for Joe Shattuck, who gets down the sideline. Yeah, action going on as we're having a conversation.
That's exactly
with Mayor Tomes. But hey, we enjoy it certainly. And you mentioned Douglas Park there briefly too. I mean, this is obviously something that's a big priority for the city to kind of revitalize this area. Talk about the importance of that and seeing events like this return in an area that is really improved over the years.
It certainly has. And you know, what's really helped it is a number of years ago, they formed a group, the Friends of Halbert, or Friends of Douglas Park. And so a lot of people have been putting their own sweat in it, and actually in their dollars. There's been over $1 million worth of improvements here at Douglas Park in different parts, whether it be the main ball diamond, whether it be the football field, the soccer deal, baseball. It's used so much by the neighbors around here, especially playing soccer. But, you know, it's a great pride of the city of Rock Island, and it got tired and needed some help, and the citizens jumped in there and helped along with the city, and the park board does a great job in maintaining it. And so it's great to see those private-public partnerships working. We've been able to duplicate this up at Halbert Park and other places, and so it is a very important part of the city. It's the heart of the city. It's where the city began, and we need to make sure that we preserve that and honor it. And so it's great to see it coming back to life. We still got a few more things to do here. We got some new lights that will probably be coming next year. We're working on that funding right now, and so it's great to see the enthusiasm, people come out and sharing it. We got some beautiful weather with us today too, but yes, that helps.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt out here. And as mayor, having a place like Douglas Park that has so much history and has had so much go on, to be able to revitalize it kind of under your time as mayor, what does that mean for you to be able to say that, you know, while I've been able to kind of lead Rock Island, this has happened here?
It's exactly right. And what hopefully I've been able to lead some parts of bringing back some history. You know, once again, a lot of cities that, you know, keep sprawling out and building new and everything else, which is fine. It's good growth. But they leave some of the old parts behind. And I really am proud to be able to say that I've been part of, along with the city council's commitment, to be able to redo the history, and not just Douglas Park, whether it be Hallberg Center up there, and they're working on the carriage house as we speak, whether it be down at Shriver Park and revitalizing that part of downtown, the revitalization of the economic development in the downtown. We're putting a lot of emphasis and a lot of dollars toward that. And so it's great to be in that leadership role and to have a great city council. City staff has done a wonderful job at taking on that the role of helping out with that and having some leadership. And so there's a number of spots we're touching. And so I got to say that hopefully when I leave mayor someday, that we can look back and say, boy, we've revitalized a little history.
And, you mentioned it a moment ago, the knowledge of the history that we have here in terms of football and in terms of Rock Island. A lot of people really don't even know about it. How much of a priority is that for the city to kind of get people knowing about it and obviously taking part in celebrations of it just like this one?
It's a key part, and it's so important that what we just did is to create a new position, a community engagement manager. Sarah Hayden just joined the city staff, and that's her sole job, is to work on community engagement, community knowledge. We're now tracking a lot of different things. How many times we're touching the press? Where do you see the news? History, in informing people of what's going on. And so you're right, we've really put an emphasis at it, that we even added a position to emphasize that. And continue to let the community, and some say it's the community of Rock Island, it's the community of the Quad Cities. Once again, all parts of the Quad Cities have great shining parts to them, and what really makes it unique, and when I've talked to people, is when you put that all together, how great that is. Whether it be the TBK Bank Sports Complex, whether it be the baseball diamond in the Modern Woodman Park, whether it be the new arena or the vibrant arena at the Mark, those type of things, it just continues. The Botanical Center, the Putnam, you could go on and on and on about continuing to bring history and revitalization and community things to do, that letting them know what's out here and what's available, and they share it with their friends and family, and it's wonderful. It's great to see generations coming up and being able to experience it.
What is it about the Quad Cities and Rock Island that you think makes it so important to kind of history? And so many things that have gone on that people might not even really recognize that did, just kind of like what we're celebrating here today, kind of the birth of the NFL.
What was so fun and important, but is that, there's, I'll say good and bad. Looney was known for here and his shady works back then, that in the ghost tours and all kinds of things. But it's amazing how the depth of that. But then there's big corporations, Weyerhaeuser Corporation, which is a multi-billion-dollar company today and a Fortune 500, and it got its start right here in Rock Island, Illinois. And once again, continuing to teach those things that, your little business that you start today, someday could be that multi-billion-dollar business or large business, and those dreams can come true. And so that's something to be learned about, whether it be Deere starting here, and you see the Deere Wyman House and all the different parts. Those all started with dreams, and that's what we encourage people to do as an entrepreneurship and working, is follow your dream. You never know where it's going to lead. And these type of things, like the sports deal today, look what it did for NFL, and a lot of people. So can we teach that? Can we pass that on to the next generations so it's not forgotten?
We should mention that Rock Island's drive ended with an incomplete pass in the end zone on the other side of the field. Moline's got it now as we catch you up here in the first quarter. Still no score as we move along. So obviously we know you're rooting for Rock Island, the Independents, today. We're celebrating the NFL. Who are you rooting for on Sundays?
On Sundays, I got to say, on the professional side, it's the Bears.
There you go. All right.
It brings a little tension in the household. My father's a Packer fan.
Oh, that's fun, I'm sure.
So I sit down with him. He's 88, and we sit down and watch some of the games and have the debate back and forth on who's best record or best team and that sort of thing. But it's all in fun. And just like it is today with John Marks and that sort of thing. I know he's from Moline, and I'm not sure where you guys, to have a little fun and a little friendly competition, but there's no doubt. Root for the Rocks. Sundays are the Bears. Other controversy would be that I'm a Cardinal fan. Out seeing a lot of and it's a mixture here in the Quad Cities. I think of
it is.
Cubs, Cardinals, and so a few White Sox.
You got one. You got
two
right
of them.
here.
Actually,
See, can't leave the White Sox out. But I do brag. Then let's take a look at where the Cardinals are in their standings. But.
And that's I won't show you that I have a Packers hat on, but we'll keep that for another time. But I think the sports rivalries in the Quad Cities are such a cool part of what you have here, and you see it kind of right on display here. Moline versus Rock Island is. I think we almost not quite have our first touchdown of the game, but close. But you see so much of that with Rock Island Ultimate. You have Rock Island Moline. You have the Davenport schools. Even Bettendorf, Pleasant Valley, and then all the way up to the professional things with Packers, Bears, Cubs, Cardinals. It's such a kind of a melting pot of sports, and to be able to celebrate that here today is really unique as well.
It certainly is. I've knocked on a lot of doors over the years and talked to a lot of people, and it's interesting. I've never seen before. This year I saw before some of these welcome mats and everything else. They have split families. It even says on their split families, and a Cubs and a Cardinals or whatever it is, a Bears and a Packers. And so you're exactly right. It is a melting pot of all different things, but everybody has fun with it. I see that there's different bars out there than Sundays and everything else. They'll have a little competition or a little fun inside there. And so that's a great part of the Quad Cities. It just is. People get along. They have fun. There's a lot of history. You can have differences of opinions, but that doesn't mean you can't be friends and keep working together and having fun.
That's one of the really cool things about the Quad Cities, too. For the size, this is a really sports-focused area. I mean, you talk about our semi-pro teams, our high school teams, as we've got to run here to the outside for Moline and working his way toward the goal line. Did he get in there? What's the call? Still waiting for it.
Looks like just short.
A little bit short. So it should be fourth down. But, the sports here is incredible, and the support for all the teams is incredible. And it seems like that's something that certainly can be kind of capitalized on in terms of events like the ones we're seeing right here today.
That's exactly right. But I'll tell you, go to the sports complexes around town, not just the TBK-based sports camp, but you go to Hitman's, you go out to Campbell's Park, you go to a lot of them, and you see these young kids, the T-balls and that sort of thing, and all the parents involved and the grandparents and that sort of thing. It is a great area for sports. Everybody seems to enjoy it from I'll say the grandkids, my grandkids, from the grade school on up. And you're right. It's the Quad Cities has embraced that and supports it wholeheartedly.
Looks like we've got to stop. Fourth down stop as they try to go to the run to the outside with Adam Flores, and Rock Island stands tall, so we've got a nice defensive struggle to start this ball game.
A little different than last year's game when we saw kind of the early scores and then the comeback. This one still scoreless here early on. We talk about sports even today on September 10th, Iowa State, and you have that mix that continues to go on across the river. But the Rock Island's place in history of the NFL, I think, is so unique. And we saw that when Augustana hosted the draft little party a couple of years ago. So many people there, I think, were talking about they didn't know that this was such a foundational part of what's become the NFL today. And I think that's just, it's so cool to be able to say right here where we are today was the beginning of what we see explode into, what happens on Sundays and, throughout the week in the NFL. It's so unique.
Well, that support, that day was a yucky day. It was a drizzly, cold day in the draft, and I was very fortunate to be there and actually call out a couple of those drafts. So that's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Sure,
but the number of people that were there, even though the weather was crappy, it shows that they do enjoy this history. And once again, that knowledge spread, and we want to continue that. And it started here. It just is so, I guess, exhilarating to see. And maybe you've talked about this earlier, but the uniforms these guys are wearing, is the same type of uniforms that they were wearing back then, and the helmets and the wool pants and that sort of thing, and they could get hot and wet and stinky.
It's a warm day today. We were talking about it earlier.
Yes.
Those uniforms, the leather helmets, a little bit warm on a day like today, but I think everyone's having a great time so far.
We are glad to be here. Mayor Tums, we are so glad you could join us. Thank you so much for your time today.
No problem. My pleasure. enjoyed talking to you guys.
Absolutely. All right, we've reached the end of quarter number 1 here at the Vintage Football Game. No score after 1. We'll step out and come back with a second after this on MC22. Been a fun start to this game so far. No score, a defensive battle so far between the Universal Tractors and the Independents back here for the Vintage Football Game. And, of course, we are celebrating the NFL. Obviously, earlier in the broadcast, we talked about the first official game featuring an NFL team. Here are some looks at the very first NFL games, and it includes a team that is pretty familiar to us here in Rock Island.
Absolutely. The Rock Island Independents, they beat the Muncie Flyers 45-0. And then on the other side of that, the Dayton Triangles, that's quite a name there, 14-0 over the Columbus Panhandles. So those were the very first NFL games. Took place just about 102 years ago, and it's so interesting to look at that and think that's where all of this started with the NFL, and then look at where it is today with everything that goes into it. Humble beginnings right here at Douglas Park.
So we are getting ready once again to start the second quarter. Yeah, the Independents have scored a little bit more points that day than they did today so far, right?
Yeah, so far, yeah, nothing. Both teams able to kind of get close to the goal line, and then not much there. And yeah, we've seen defensive battles. We've seen both teams be able to move up and down the field a little bit. But once they get to that goal line, great defense leading the way. And here we are, Rock Island back on offense.
With Simon Herrera leading the charge as always. A pump fake, and now here we go. Deep shot sidelines. Got a man open, and it is caught on the juggle. Nicely done. Joe Shattuck made the catch on the far sideline. That's going to be more than enough for a first down for the Independents.
Yeah, and Simon's showing off that arm. We'll have to ask him about that when he comes over to talk to us. And not an easy ball to throw, but he able to put that one up in the air a little bit. And for Rock Island, I believe actually that was Sam Greenspan on the Rock Island side of things, able to pull that one in for Rock Island, and able to pull that one in and right at the midfield line, so a first down for Rock Island.
That's Sam Greenspan making the reception. Big catch for him up to midfield at the 40-yard line. First down for the Independents, and now maybe here in the second quarter we start to see the offenses start to click a little bit more. You mentioned they did move the ball well in that first half, just not able to finish drives once they get down close to the end zone. As Herrera's got it again, got away from one, then fired short. That one is complete across the 40 and to about the 38-yard line. Another nice play. It'll set up second down.
Looking to go outside was Simon, but nothing there, and able to pull it back in, avoid the pressure, and pick up a few yards. And that's what a lot of this is for these teams. They practice a few times. They don't, it's nothing overly organized, but they come out there with some game plans and some plays and what they want to do. But there's obviously a lot of kind of split-second decision-making that goes on, just like any NFL game or any football game. And Simon able to find a man across the middle.
The wily veteran, Simon Herrera, he's, again, had so much of a part of this vintage football game, both in the organizing of it and, of course, the playing of it, as he dumps it off once again. And once again, there is Greenspan making the catch. And we got right back to the line of scrimmage as Moline handled that one, and here comes third down.
Such an interesting game for these guys, as we mentioned, a lot of them, some different football backgrounds, and you see guys from all walks of life that are coming in here. As they announced in the initial lineups for Moline, number one out there, Michael Schmadke, he's the all-time leading points record setter for University of Northern Iowa. So you have a guy like that who has obviously played a lot of football, played at a fairly high level. Then you have some guys who are just They like playing football. They maybe played a couple decades ago or something, but they're out here having a great time.
Herrera had to corral that snap, and then it goes in and out of the hands of Ethan Blaze, and it'll be a fourth down there. And that was important, too, to note. There's Herrera making sure he had to secure that snap, because in the instance of a fumbled snap, the ball is immediately dead. There's no fumbles in this game per rules that were in effect back in 1920.
A little bit of safety, but also just a little bit of ease of play, nobody diving to pick up a fumble. But yeah, it's a dead ball, so it's important to remember, especially on a snap, easy way to lose a down simply by mishandling that snap.
So here's a 4th and about 15 in effect. They've got to get to the 20-yard line of Moline for a first down. Right now at the 35. Already saw Simon uncork the deep ball on this drive. He might have to do it again here. He's looking deep. He goes to the sideline. Pass is tipped and picked off. Nicely done there. As the interception made and across the 35-yard line. Doug Noyak there with the pick that time for the Universal Tractors.
Bounced around a little bit, and in the end went into the hands of Noe and able to return a little bit. So they'll set up shop at about the 36. So just 4 yards from picking up that first down. And it's an interesting way of thinking about it sometimes. It's okay. It's just kind of a 1st and 4 to get to that 40. So we'll see what they come out with if they want to continue running. But we remain scoreless as the defense continues to step up on both sides. Now we'll see if Rock Island can continue that.
Universal Tractors as the flag is out. I saw some early movement there that time as the run is a short one for Brendan Fouch. Have our first, I believe that's our first penalty of the ball game. Been a pretty clean game so far. That's some early movement on the Moline side.
It looks like an offensive or offsides against the Universal Tractors. The referees for this game here today, Dave Lang and Josh Stefanovich.
And now going the other way, going toward Rock Island's side, so that penalty been called on Rock Island. And the officials also playing in the costume game today. They've got the same type of uniforms that they wore back in the 20s, the bow tie, the hat. Looking pretty good out there.
It's a good look.
Yeah.
I don't know why they ever retired it. You know, to go with the stripes, I think they should go right back to the bow tie and the old-time hats, the white shirts.
Pitch here to the outside. Run heading toward us here on the sideline. And that was Brendan Fouch once again on the carry for Moline. Right back to the line of scrimmage, looked like right there at midfield.
Drew Davis able to pull the flag on that one. A good diving stop for the flag. And that for anyone who's played flag football, that's not easy to be able to dive and have the coordination to reach, especially when somebody's moving and pull it off. So good play there by Drew Davis.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to see the kind of fine line you have to toe between playing flag football and professional football. Obviously, football, a very physical sport inherently. Flag football takes out a lot of it, but some of it you just have to have in there, and that was a very physical play, as you mentioned there, by Davis to lay out and get that flag.
And the flags are really one of the only differences between what was happening in Douglas Park in 1920 and what we see today. It's pretty standard outside of that.
Some good cut moves over the middle that time. Trey Miranda on the carry for Moline. Another short gain sets up third down from just outside of the Rock Island 35.
Most guys have ditched the leather helmets at this point. It's a pretty warm day out here.
Yeah.
For mid-September and bright sunshine as well. So Simon still has his leather helmet on, and a couple other guys do, but most of them have said, yeah, it's a little too warm for a leather helmet out here, but still the everything else pretty reminiscent to 1920 out here today.
Yeah, we're right at about 80 degrees here in Rock Island on this Saturday afternoon, but as you mentioned, the sun is shining and certainly contributing to that a little bit as well. A lot of time to throw here for Moline, and the pass was deflected and almost intercepted. Another great play by Drew Davis, laying out, deflecting the pass, incomplete. And now here comes fourth down.
Came close to hauling that one in. I almost thought that was going to be an interception heading the other way, but Davis just great reactions, able to step up, knock that one away. And I remember last year we were able to kind of talk to some of the players throughout the game and find out some of their backgrounds, and hopefully we'll have the chance to do that today because there are some of these guys who played semi-pro. Obviously, we just saw a great season for the Quad Cities Steamwheelers. Yep. As they made it to the championship game, and so some of these guys have played, in leagues similar to that. Or even, again, we look at Michael Schmadke playing at the University of Northern Iowa. There's definitely some guys out there that have played some great football in their careers.
And as the game goes along, you'll be able to tell which ones are playing or have played recently. Again, that switch of turning off from the traditional outdoor game to the flag football game, it can be a tough one at times, as that kick goes out of the back of the end zone, and it is no good, wide to the left. So the scoreless tie remains here in the second quarter, 0-0, and another stop this time for the Rock Island defense.
Just a back and forth game as far as nobody wanting to reach the end zone, and that was Schmadke who kicked that. And again, a kicker at the University of Northern Iowa. Been a little while for him. It's not like he just left last year. Been a handful of years, but he showed off that leg. Just couldn't knock it through those uprights. And again, they sit right on the goal line, and you see that. And then it's easy to see why the NFL made the change to the back of the end zone, because it's definitely a little bit of a hazard out there. If somebody's not looking at where they're going, it's easy to run into that. But that's what makes the game so unique when you look back at different years and kind of how they got to where they are today. Definitely different.
So Rock Island will take over right around the 35-yard line. And we've got a stoppage of play here. And while we do have a stoppage of play, let's talk about some of the changes. We've mentioned a few of them since the start of this broadcast. Obviously, the rules of 1920, a little bit harder to implement for this game, because when it started in 1920, the rules were the same as college. It wasn't until 1932 that the NFL would create its own rules committee with the goal of changing the game from the college level. And one of the first changes really they made in 1933 was deciding to allow passes from anywhere behind the line of scrimmage. Of course, before, players had to be at least 5 yards behind that line before throwing. And that change came due to a Bears playoff game back in the 1930s. Fullback Bronco Nagurski kind of did one of those fake run forwards, then stepped back behind the line of scrimmage, and then threw a touchdown pass. So the Rules Committee then changed it, and by 1940, the NFL had eliminated penalties for multiple incomplete passes. They moved those hash marks closer, started penalizing for roughing the passer. So those were just some of the changes that led to the game that we see today. But back in the day, it certainly was very different.
And it just goes to show that rule changes have consistently been a part of professional sports since the very beginning. You still see it every year. There's something new that the NFL says, I can't quite do that anymore. Obviously we've seen a lot on the defensive side with the hitting and, what needs to happen and catch rules and things like that, kind of making the game what it is. But it just goes to show that the sports, they evolve. And what we've seen out here today, again, very similar to what we saw in that, not what we saw, but what happened in 1920. But even you look at film from 30, 40 years ago in the NFL, it's very different than what it is today, just based on how the game's played, different offensive schemes, defensive schemes. It's a really interesting thing that you think the game's pretty much stayed the same on the outside looking in, but a lot of those nuances have changed throughout the years.
And so it's always nice to have events like this to kind of go back and kind of remind us what it was like all the way back in the 20s and the early goings of professional football. Herrera and company back out. They swing it to the outside. That's D'Angelo Allison. And Allison with a carry near the 40-yard line, close to another first down. And of course, with Rock Island starting at the 35, they only need 5 to get a first down this time around. That one stopped at about the 38 for a gain of 3.
Allison with a lot of speed, able to bounce it out there and pick up a few yards. And now second down and about 2. Short field, and we've kind of seen Rock Island do it all. We've seen Herrera toss it up to have some gains, and we've seen that rushing game do a lot as well. And both these teams still trying to figure out exactly the best way they want to move forward, whether it's through the air or on the ground or continuing to mix it up.
Another way you're going to see this game go about how it did in the 1920s, only T formation you're going to see here today. There's no motion or anything like that, any pre-snap movement. It all has to be out of the T just like they did back in the 1920s. So, again, adjustments have to be made, as a lot of these guys used to this era of football, as that pass is caught down the middle of the field. Nicely done. Good throw by Herrera, and Jared Riquette made the catch that time. That's a first down for the Independents.
Another great throw from Herrera, and you can tell that he's been around this style of football for a while. He's one of the few guys who can toss it up there, and it looks pretty good coming out of his hand and popping right down into Raquette's arms for a big gain and past the 20, so a first down now for Rock Island.
Of course, inside the 20, so this is, in effect, first and goal for the Independents. Still trying to get something going on the board here. No score either way. We're in the second quarter. Rock Island with another chance to break the scoreless tie. Oh, look at that move by Allison right after getting the handoff, and he will be stopped for a short gain, but certainly no lack of effort on his part. Beautiful cut move right there on first down.
And runs need to try to go around a defender rather than through. You see it so much today in football, trying to go over defenders, but obviously with flag football for safety reasons, trying to go around guys instead. And that's what that cutback move, spin move that we saw right there from Allison.
Yep, around, not through. That's kind of the main rule, the main emphasis of this ball game. No hurdling or anything like that either. All those will result in unnecessary roughness penalties of 15 yards. Here's second down and goal. Herrera on the rollout. He'll throw opposite side. Beautifully designed. Touchdown, Rock Island. First score of the game, and it goes to David Driscoll. And the Independents are on the board first.
Wide open. That was a great play call and set up as Herrera took the snap, rolled out to his left, stops, throws back, and Driscoll didn't have anyone near his own zip code on that one, able to haul it in, take a few steps, and finally we have our first touchdown, first points of the game.
And Rock Island jumps out to a 6-0 lead on the beauty of a play design that time. Take everybody to one side of the field, go right to the other. There's only one guy over there, and that's exactly how it's drawn up there for the Independents. So here we go with the extra point try, and of course it's always an adventure trying to kick the melon ball through. Jared Raquette will try it this time for Rock Island. And you see everybody in Moline lined up at the goal line. No line of scrimmage contact that time, and he's able to put it right through. We've got a 7-0 ball game as the Independents, as they did last year, they strike first once again this year.
Yeah, good play call and then a good kick as well. Decided to go for the standard place kick rather than try that 2-point drop kick. Might be something that we see later in the game. But Rock Island takes the lead 7-0 here in the second quarter. And hopefully, as we mentioned, we'll have a chance to talk to Simon at some point. He's really the brains behind this. We'll have to bring up that play call and see what led to that and the perfect throw coming out of the hand of Herrera again.
Mentioned that drop kick rule where you get an extra point if you're able to do that and put it in for 2 points. That's one of the interesting things, too, how in some areas of football that rule still applies. You mentioned the Steamwheelers. They play in the Indoor Football League. That is the case in the IFL as well. If you do a drop kick, it's worth an extra point. Mm-hmm. So some of these rules, while they had their very beginnings in the 1920s, in some areas of football, they still live today.
They just aren't as common, and they just don't get brought out as much. And it is really interesting when those do happen. And with football especially, you do see it. Obviously, the indoor leagues, the arena league, which I think kind of still exists a little bit, but now it's more kind of that indoor side of things. Big return there.
Yeah, nicely done.
For Moline.
Yeah, that's Fouch. He's got a lot of speed. Took that one from the goal line and had a couple of nice moves and was eventually stopped just past the 30-yard line.
But the game is different in those, but still holds that same idea. You're still trying to pick up first downs. You're still trying to get the ball to the end zone. But it's very unique, when you are able to kind of turn it into those different sides of things. And it also just creates more opportunities for guys. As we said, there's a lot of players, really good players, that are never going to play major, Division I college. They're never going to go pro. But they might be really good high school players, played at small colleges, and they can continue playing, at some level with those indoor leagues and some of the semi-professional leagues.
4 minutes remaining in the first half.
Just got the word from our guy John Marks. 7 minutes left here in half number one. Moline's got it. They're down by 7. Here's a nice run heading toward the far sideline, and that is Caden Fouch with a nice run for the Universal Tractors as he gets up near midfield. They'll spot him right about the 39-yard line.
Moline might want to just make sure that the Fouches keep getting the ball. A lot of speed behind those guys, whether it be Caden or Brendan. Up to midfield as Moline looking to respond, hopefully trying to tie this thing up, or who knows, we might see one of those fun little drop kicks and see if they can knock it home for 2.
Always an option. We'll see if anybody takes advantage of it. They did end up marking it at the 40, so it is a first down for Moline. And they will look to go to the air this time. Flores going deep to the sideline, caught over the shoulder, beautifully done. Touchdown, Moline. Luke Shattuck with a great catch.
What a throw, what a catch. And Adam Flores, he wasn't the quarterback at the beginning of the game, but now it looks like he might be the guy, as that was a great throw as well. And you see when a team is able to throw that ball well, what we've seen from Herrera and now we see from Flores there, really opens things up quite a bit. Able to throw it deep and take it all the way for the touchdown.
And we've talked about it before. Dealing with that melon ball is tough enough. Making an over-the-shoulder catch like that, looking right up into the sun as well, that is one heck of a play by Luke Shattuck. Michael Schmadke on for the extra point try, and he booms it through. This game is tied.
Quite a leg behind that one for
No kidding.
Schmadke. I thought it might go across the street and hit the house, but able to stay right inside the park here. There's plenty of room behind that goalpost, but a lot of leg behind that one. All tied up at 7. So that defensive battle is starting to turn into the offensive side a little bit.
Always takes just a little bit of time to get accustomed to the rules. Once again, a lot of these guys have played this game before. They're not strangers to it per se, but certainly takes a little bit of time to get used to it again. And now off we go. We're off and running. He's got a tie game on 2 straight scores.
And so the team that scores actually gets the choice of whether, or the team that's scored upon actually gets a choice of whether they want to receive or kick it. Still don't really know why you would choose to kick it after you just get scored upon, but it's one of the rules of the game. And so Rock Island says, yep, we'll take the ball right back. So Schmadke steps back, and we'll see how far he kicks this one.
That one is headed to the Mississippi River. All the way out of the back of the end zone, didn't even touch the field of play. My goodness.
Yeah, he has quite the leg, and he's showing it off here today. And I feel like if you were a college kicker at some point, you want to show that you still got it.
Exactly.
And so he's out here today making sure he tells everyone, yep, I still have that leg out there.
So Rock Island will start at the 10. 7-7. We've got 3 minutes remaining here in the opening half of play. There you go. We've even got our manual scoreboard out there, keeping track. We don't have a clock here, so we're kind of dependent on our MCs to tell us how many minutes and seconds are left in the ball game. But right now we're inside of 3 minutes on that clock that will start running once again here once Rock Island gets going on this first down. Herrera, fresh off a touchdown pass on the last drive. He's looking to the air again, goes over the middle of the field, and that one is over the head of his intended target, that time Ethan Blaze.
Just a little behind him as well, and that's one of the tough parts with that ball. It's tough to be really precise with it. We've seen these guys be able to do it in this one, but it's not an easy ball to throw exactly where you want it to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a point that we can't bring up enough. This is a huge football in comparison to what we're used to today. I think it's a little more than 20 inches wide, lengthwise and widthwise. So it's something that is obviously they're going to have to get used to it as they move along in the game.
Yeah, less kind of gripping it and more palming it and just kind of shot putting it around is the best way to describe.
Another deep ball, and that time it was intercepted. What a catch out there in the secondary by Trey Miranda. The interception, and Moline will take over near the 30-yard line.
Miranda right there and able to go up haul that one in. And again, it's not an easy one to throw, but also not an easy one to catch. And right there to haul that one in was Miranda.
So a turnover for Rock Island. We've got 10 seconds remaining here in the half, so perhaps one more play here for Moline if they hurry.
Yeah, it looks like we might just say, yeah, time to go to halftime. No, they're trying to decide whether they want to try to have Schmadke kick or launch it down the field.
Nope, doesn't look like they're going to kick. They're going to try and get into the end zone. So this, in effect, the last play of the half. Flores had the touchdown throw on the last drive. He gets sacked here as Joe Shattuck rips the flag off just shy of the 35.
And theoretically, that should do it. But we have to see how all the clock works. Again, we don't have one out here. We're kind of just relying on the MCs keeping everyone honest. It looks like they're going to allow Moline one more play.
And Schmadke is out there. So they will try a field goal here. Might have gotten a timeout there on the Moline sideline to stop the clock right before the half. So one last play here. It'll be a long field goal try. Schmadke, he's showing off his legs so far.
About 42 yards to knock this one through. They do allow a tee, so he's out there. They have the tee set up and pasting it back.
This will put Moline in front if Schmadke's able to hit it. Kick is off to the left and a chance for a return for Rock Island out of the half. Here is the return man, Jared Riquette. Runs into a crowd, brought down out across the 20-yard line. And that will take us to the end of the first half. Fun game. Really got started in the second quarter offensively. A touchdown for each squad. That's where we stand at the break. 7-7. Moline and Rock Island tied at the half at the Vintage Football Game. Halftime at Douglas Park, the 2022 Quad Cities Vintage Football Game halfway in the books. A fun first half of this one, 7-up between Rock Island and Moline. And Steve, you talk about a tale of two halves. Well, how about a tale of two halves within the first half? The second quarter seeing a lot more offense than the first.
Yeah, first quarter, both teams got down to right about the goal line, couldn't punch anything in, nothing after one. Second quarter, a couple big touchdowns by both sides, and that has brought us to 7-7 and a half, and kind of a game a little bit of like we expected. We thought it'd be a close game, not a high-scoring game. These don't usually tend to be, huge scoring games by any means, but 7-7. Great first half, community loving it out here, and everyone's having a good time.
Yeah, a lot of great people out here. And we talked about it earlier. There have been numerous people who've signed up for this game over the years. But this year's roster does have some familiar faces as well as a lot of new ones. So let's take a look now at what brought these players out here and how they feel about today's event.
Have a son at home,
Yep.
a wife, and a job. Why are you here?
They told me to get out of the house, give them some space, have some fun out here. That's why I'm here without some friends. So.
Doug Noy birthday party today going on at the house?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Get ready.
And
So,
how Dominic?
he just turned 1.
Wow. So friends from work, family just said, hey, you need to be doing this.
Yeah, some family friends. So
Who made you the quarterback, Dougie?
Luke Shattuck. He's kind of the team captain. So
A far cry, Michael Schmadke, from the Dome at UNI, but this is still football and this is still a lot of fun. What brought you out?
A mutual friend brought us out, Luke Shattuck.
Yep.
Kind of got us connected to be able to come out here and play on this field. And it looks like it's going to be a gorgeous day. So
You've kicked in a lot of places, inside, outside. You mentioned the weather perfect to kick, but you haven't kicked a lot of footballs like this before. And you're going to play, but talk about what that's like and trying to address that ball.
That ball, you're exactly right. It is like any other thing you kick. It's really a lot more ovalish, not so much, fatter. And the ball does go a lot further when you kick it. It just pops a lot more.
Where was that in Montana in 40 degrees?
Yeah, exactly. That was not there. I could have used some of that. But yeah, it just goes a lot farther, so it's actually more fun to kick.
This is what makes this game interesting. Why they only threw for 375 total yards in a season in 1920.
Now, of course, the players are just part of what makes this game so much fun, but one thing that doesn't get talked about nearly as much as the impact that this game has on the community. And you just look around, I mean, there are so many people out here. We were talking earlier with Mayor Tomes. This is something that's very important to the community of Rock Island and the Quad Cities.
It is, and it's something that a lot of people who are in the Quad Cities either know very well or don't know too much about. But when you do hear about it, there is kind of that sense of pride. And we see the people out here today that come out and they say this is a cool event that the Quad Cities does. Even if you look around some of the history of those early NFL teams, it's usually brought up that this game happens each year with the vintage football game. So it's something that is fairly well known, and it's an exciting time, and a lot of the community able to gather around it and make sure this continues to happen year after year.
Yeah, really cool to have year after year here in this community. In fact, let's take a deeper dive now into how this event helps the community of Rock Island.
Here with the Stefanich family, talk about it, fellas. We'll start with you. This you're a year removed from high school football,
yes,
but you've always been involved with this.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to Ethan and how you cornered him to get involved. But why?
Well, I mean, I just love football, and I think a lot more people should be getting out here doing all this old time stuff. It really helps for like a community to come together, and a little bit of friendly rivalry between Rock Island and Moline. So it's just really good to get people out here, get
Sure.
people watching football the way they've never watched football, and it's just really, it's all around fun event.
Talk about this is a natural progression, and we're going to get to your dad in refereeing. But you've done sideline. Did you ref?
Yeah, I've ref.
So you've done everything involved with the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I love getting involved with football.
Cool.
I love playing it for 4 years at Alleman. Even though we didn't do the best, and still having fun with your friends. That's really what it's all about. It's just having fun with your buddies, just getting together, having bonds, and just getting good at the game.
Who made the speech to get you involved?
It had to be my dad and my brother. I didn't originally think about doing it. I thought I'd be too, honestly, shy and didn't think
Oh
I
my
was in
goodness,
shape
you've been
for
doing
it.
a great job during the scrimmage.
I appreciate that. So I just feel it feels really good just to get out here and exercise. As you get older, you get busier and
Sure.
busier. So
You understand?
Yep, exactly.
Is there a sense of history to this too?
For me, a little bit. I'm really interested in all the old school, just history that Rock Island has.
Can't get any more than this.
You can't. I feel like it's a shame that it's not highlighted almost more so than it already is right now. I think that's a big part of how we were, how football, the history of football right
Good
there.
point.
So.
Dad, how is it now that you don't have to sit in the stands and worry?
Right.
You can get on the field and have and make a difference in something that's a special event.
It's nice. I've been doing this now for my 7th year, and Simon's a great person
Yeah.
to work with. I mean, it's been real easy. Every year, I get that call. You're going to be able to referee? I'm like, yep, I'm in. So, to me, it's just a lot of fun. I'm happy that I'm able to get my boys out here. It's kind of, now it's kind of made it a family affair, which is nice. So,
Can you tell us how important it is to spend a day from 9 till whatever with your sons?
yeah, it's great. It really is. I mean, 'cause I'm
And your
just,
wife, the boss.
And right. I'm just happy that both these guys are interested in playing. It's kind of hard sometimes to get your kids off their butts and get moving, but I mean, for the most part, we have a good time, and like I said, they enjoy doing it, and that's pretty much all that matters to me. So
We appreciate you, fellas. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming back.
Lots of fun to be had, and we've still got a half of football to go here for the vintage football game. 7-7, Moline and Rock Island all tied up. We're going to bring you the second half of action after this on MC22. All right, 7-7. We are getting ready to start Quarter number 3 of the vintage football game. Moline and Rock Island tied a touchdown apiece alongside Steve Campbell. I'm Redrick Terry. Glad you could join us. And Rock Island will get the ball first. And surprise, surprise, another schmacky kick that goes out of bounds. And not only out of bounds, it went over near the street, and it almost got hit by a car. If you can believe that. Wow, we had a car right there almost hit the ball. And we've got a nice bystander to come out and retrieve the ball for us.
He's ready. This is where it's definitely a community event. We need the community to step in and save the ball, and then we're going to shine up a little bit, and we're good to go here.
That could have went a lot worse than it ended up going, but there we go. We still have a football, and we're going to use the same one, and we're going to get going here.
I think there's a few extra, but that would have made a abbreviated end to this game if all of a sudden it popped, and that was might have done it.
Yeah.
7-7 tie forever.
So there you go. How's that for an eventful start to the second half?
About the most eventful kickoff we could get that wasn't returned. Nothing happened.
Wow. All right.
Car just keeps moving along, and they're on with their day, and we're on with ours, I guess.
Yeah, this location, of course, Douglas Park, really right in the middle of a residential area here in Rock Island. So anything that goes out of the barrier, out past the fence there, is going to be in the street. So just keep that in mind as we continue on in this game. Starts with a Rock Island possession and a quick pitch to the outside. A nice run and still going, trying to find the flag to tug instead of the jersey. Eventually they did get the stop, but it was a nice run on first down. That was Drew Davis on the carry for the Independents.
Guess if you can't find the flag, just grab the jersey and slow him up until you can get the flag, and that seemed to be the plan on that one. It all worked out, and we're hopeful right after this drive we're going to have Simon Herrera come join us. He's still playing quarterback out there for Rock Island.
Run right up the middle, and decent gain out across the 20. Once again, that's D'Angelo Allison. Looks like it'll be enough for a first down as he got out across the 20. Hey, let's take a look at the equipment evolution. You know, we showed you, this game doesn't really show you everything they used to wear, but the NFL's seen quite a bit of changes. Let's start with the equipment most notably that has changed over the years, and that, of course, is the helmets.
Yeah, sure is. Yeah, originally the helmet kind of optional in the NFL, kind of like we've seen out here today. But in the late 30s, they made them mandatory, and the first helmets made from leather, cushioning on the side, kind of increased over the years. The first plastic helmet introduced in 1939, but plastic not as available in 1939 as it is. So around the mid-40s, that became the official helmet of the NFL. Soon these helmets would add a single crossbar and kind of a face mask. And then there's been some controversy on when that was first introduced. In 1953, Rydell made a shield for Cleveland Browns quarterback Otto Graham. But that wasn't the first time someone had added some sort of shield across their mask. By the late 60s, all players were required to have a helmet with a face mask. And then from then on, the face mask and helmet have continued to evolve. And even today, we still see new helmets kind of popping up with increased safety features and all sorts of things. And that's probably one of the most significant changes when you look at where the NFL is today versus what it was, even a few decades ago, as the helmet just continues to evolve.
Yeah, shout out to our producer, Devin. He put a Bills helmet in for the for the current helmet. He might be a Bills fan.
Just had to do it. That's what he said.
Pass incomplete there on second down. It will set up a third down here for the Independents right out of half. That pass was intended for Allison. And obviously equipment doesn't end there with the evolution of the helmet. The ball has changed quite a bit as well.
Yeah, sure was. The first ball, that watermelon shaped out here that we're seeing, because it was based after the original rugby ball. Thanks to the NFL changing their passing rules, they also decided to change the ball. Realizing teams could score more points from throwing the ball more, they made it smaller and easier to throw, and it's one of the things we've seen out here today. It's not easy to throw. They added some stripes on the ball that would eventually be dropped, and then for a little while they made white footballs to make it easier for players to see in low lights during night games. As lights became the better, the ball would revert back to the brown color full-time and evolve with some minor design changes.
There's a deep throw here on second down and in and out of the hands of Trey Miranda. That one just past the 35-yard line, incomplete, and here comes a fourth down. Miranda was out there on the coverage for Moline, so we'll say fourth down. But before that, again, it's one of the elements of equipment evolution that we don't think about, the shoulder pads. They've changed a lot as well.
I sure have. Well, like those helmets, shoulder pads were optional, not as readily available for everyone originally. First set of shoulder pads developed were made from wool and leather. Sounds nice and cool out there. And just like the helmet, once plastic became more accessible, they started making plastic shoulder pads with more protection. And the problem with the original plastic shoulder pads, very bulky for players, caused some overheating. Now they keep improving the pads to make them more comfortable and cool for players.
There's a good return for Fouch on the far sideline. He'll work his way into Rock Island territory, and he stopped right near the 25-yard line. They will mark him officially at about the 23, so good field positioning for Moline, as they will get an opportunity to go out in front for the first time. Rock Island scored the first touchdown of the game. They did that in the first half. In the second quarter, Moline immediately answered. That's where we stand right now, 7-7. We've got our star of the show jogging over here to talk to us. We were getting ready to speak with Simon Herrera, who, of course, is the star of the show in terms of the quarterback position, but, of course, in terms of getting all of this going as well. Simon, we thank you for being with us, taking a little bit of break from the action out there. Tell us how it's been so far in this game here in the 7th edition of the Vintage Football Game.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. We're all out there trying our hardest. We're experiencing 1920s football for ourselves, so it's tough.
A little warm out there today too.
Yeah, it said 76 this morning. It feels like about 86. So yeah, we're tired, but yeah, it's fun. Great crowd out here, beautiful day. We got it in one day before all the fall weather hits. So thanks for coming out, everyone. MC22 and Rock Island Parks for helping me organize this. I live down in Nashville, so it's not easy to set up, and a lot of locals help me out. And it's basically a citywide thing, and a lot of people helping out.
Yeah, and obviously you're the quarterback here, but obviously you're the quarterback of the operations side of this as well. And like you mentioned, you're coming all the way from Nashville. What keeps you coming back and doing this, being a part of this every year?
Well, I grew up in Bettendorf and love the Quad Cities. So, like I've told some people before, when I do the research and found out the NFL had a team here in Rock Island, it was just, exciting. I wanted to learn as much as I could. And Chris Zimmerman approached me a few years ago and said, let's get your his Moline guys out here against Rock Island, do a game. And I kind of thought, yeah, he's joking, because some people have said that before. And then he was serious, so he helped me out. We designed some uniforms, and he knew some locals that were willing to play that first year, and it's gone up from then.
What made this such a passion for you to not only look into it, but also continue this? And like you said, you're in Nashville now. You could easily say, we'll pass it along to somebody else. What continues to make this such a cool thing for you?
Well, I mean, over the years now, you come to know a lot of people that you didn't know before, and they all have a common love of football and history. And so, Johnny Marks over there, I love talking football with him. And, I just love football in general. I've been a fan my whole life. And like I said, when I found out there was an NFL team here, I couldn't believe it and wanted to, replicate it and keep it going as long as I can, as long as we get people coming out here and players that are willing to come out there and risk injury for us, so we keep it going and entertaining. We got a guy here, Josie Emba from Chicago, who's a historian, and so is Roy Sy, who's on our team. But I invited him out and said, just squint your eyes and you might be able to see Patty Driscoll and some of them guys out there, because he's done podcasts where he talks about it. He's a great storyteller, and I'm excited he's here to see this firsthand.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the people around the operations of this, but talk about the players for a minute, because we've talked about it here. We've got a nice mix of former players who are just here for the love of the game. Tell me what it's like to be out there with that different mix of people out here every year.
Yeah, when I was younger, I thought I was destined for the NFL, like we're all kids. And, when I got my 20s, I played 8-against-8 full contact flag football in Chicago, and it was the most real experience I ever had. So I wanted to set something up like this, and we found guys that played high school football. Some played semi-pro. Mike on the Moline team kicked for UNI. So they're out here because they love football. So it's fun getting to play, even though I'm in my upper 40s now. It's fun being able to play with all these guys that have played various levels, and it's a real competitive game out there.
We see Schmidtke knock that one through, and we know you need to get back out there and quarterback for Rock Island. Real quick, before you go and do that, you mentioned all these different guys out here. How do you get them here each year to be able to say, yeah, we're gonna go play again?
Yeah, it's a little challenging because they get some bruises and stuff. And some of them like, nah, I think that was it for me. So we're just I got a list, actually, a spreadsheet of everyone who's ever played, and I start with the guys that played that you want to play again, and then maybe got 6 or 7, and then I start going through the list again. You ready to come back out and give it a try? And then there's people that randomly find me on Quad Cities Vintage Football. I got a website or a Facebook page, so they'll say, hey, I watched the game, can I play this year? So we always got a couple new guys, which keeps it fun for me, showing people the game for the first time and everything, and they're blown away. They can't believe we're doing this. One thing the first year, and since then people come up to me and, where'd you get these guys from? This is a great traveling, they think it's like some show, and I'm like, no, these are locals. We practiced this morning, and they're just out here just running this formations, and they're like, yeah, but they're actors, right? And I'm like, no, these guys are just everyday people. We're just out here playing football. This is a real game. This isn't scripted. So we just keep doing it.
Yeah, we keep enjoying it as well. Thank you so much for your time, Simon. Get out there. We know your offense is about to get back out there on the field, so we'll see you out there.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
You got another touchdown in that arm right on this drive?
We're gonna let Sam try it here, see what he does. He's a little better runner, so we'll give him a little bit of the run-in look here. So, all right.
We look forward to it. Thanks a lot,
Perfect.
Simon. Simon Herrera. You could call him the Tom Brady of the vintage football game. He just keeps coming back, and as we've seen already in this ball game, he's still got a lot in the tank. He's still got some power in that arm. He enjoys doing it, enjoys putting it together. You heard him, the Bettendorf native, now living in Nashville, still coming back up every year, though, to organize and put this on and then play in it as well. Lots of effort on his part, and obviously that effort, we're seeing the fruits of his labor today.
Yeah, we saw that one touchdown pass that he had from the arm, but yeah, just he continues to kind of be kind of the beacon of this. He kind of keeps it going, keeps those guys coming out, and it's funny, like you said, you keep thinking they're actors or where'd you get these guys from? He's like, they're just from here. They're local guys that want to come out and play and have a good time with it, and we see it each year, and it's great to see the community come out and enjoy it as well.
We did get a Schmadke field goal for the Universal Tractors on that last drive while we were talking to Simon. So Moline has its first lead of the game. It's 10-7. Rock Island has the ball now, and the run up the middle goes for a short gain out across the 10 to about the 13, 14-yard line on the run by Allison.
And we'll see how the Rock Island offense adjusts now to not having Herrera at quarterback. Looks like he's having Sam Greenspan out there handle the quarterback duties, and Rock Island looking to get things going once again.
Yeah, just got the scouting report from Simon there. You just heard him. Greenspan more of the running threat. So we'll see if that plays into how they approach this next drive, their first drive of the game where they are down. Haven't been down yet. They scored the first touchdown of this contest, and Molina scored the last 10 points of the game.
And hearing from Simon just kind of how his love for this has grown, just kind of learning about this happened in the Quad Cities and not really knowing too much about it. I think that's a pretty common story they hear throughout a lot of people. It's maybe something they heard of here and there, but didn't really know a lot about. And through his research, he's just been able to drum up all this information and keep something like this alive when it easily could have been one and done, or we're going to get it together and nobody shows up and that's kind of the end of it. He's just been able to keep it going and continue to have guys out here year after year. And I think it helps. It's kind of a one time a year thing. It's not something that a lot of guys have to commit a ton of time to, a couple practices here and there, and then come out and play today. But they've made it work, and it's continued to be an annual event here in the Quad Cities.
Jared Raquette with the run there for Rock Island. It'll set up a third down. They're about 5 or so yards away from the first. We're in the third quarter, 10-7. Moline has the lead. Rock Island trying to answer. Again, Greenspan at quarterback. It is third down for the Independents. Greenspan pitches. Allison trying to find somewhere to go. Cannot find much, and he was brought down right near the line of scrimmage. Might be a couple of yards on the loss that time, and it'll set up a fourth down.
So I guess we can say if Rock Island doesn't come back to win this one, and loss might be on us for pulling Simon away.
Disrupted the offensive rhythm just a little bit.
Put it back on the defense and say, they can shut him down and get Simon back out there. 4th down, and this is again one of those points where the team on offense has to say, "Yep, we're gonna kick it." Nobody rushes. They call it red. That's kind of what they say. Yep. Scream out red, and they're going to be a kick. But it's like we have a timeout to kind of talk some things over a little bit. Actually, no, it's the end of the third quarter.
We have reached the end of quarter number 3. This game has been moving fast. It's been highly competitive, as it always is. 3 quarters in the books, 10-7. Moline has the lead as we move to the 4th quarter on MC22. There is your score. We are getting ready to start quarter number 4. The home team, Independence, down by 3 to the visitors, the Moline Universal Tractors 2022 vintage football game here on MC22. We're glad you're with us alongside Steve Campbell. I'm Redrick Terry. Another competitive game as we get ready to play quarter number 4. It was a close game last year, separated by 3 points, a 13-10 Moline victory, and right now Moline has the advantage. As the crowd looks on, nice crowd here at Douglas Park, the return to Douglas Park this season. We are going to start the 4th with a punt. And Brandon Fouch lets it bounce, and on a big hop, he fields it from right around the 35. Tries to spin, and a nice play by Greenspan to lay out and make the tackle, ripping the flag away at the 36-yard line, and that is where Moline will take over with the 3-point advantage. As always, we are glad to once again welcome in Mr. David Sieben, who is a big part of football history of the Quad Cities, preserving that history and teaching a lot of us more about the game. As always, we appreciate your time. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get right into it. What's new with you? I know we've talked about last year. You got a book on the way. Let's hear what the progress report is on that.
The book is done. I'm waiting on 2 approvals, one from the Chicago Defender newspaper and one from the Paul Robeson estate. They involve photographs, so obviously you have to get their permission, and as soon as I get that permission, it's off to the publisher, and these 2 photographs are just phenomenal. I mean, words can't describe it. You can't write a book about these 2 photographs. So one is of Butler shaking hands with Jesse Owens, of all people.
Wow,
I mean, just, yeah, huge. And the other one is of Butler in the cast of the movie Showboat with Paul Robeson. And he sang in there, obviously uncredited, but he was in the movie, and I wasn't. So, yeah.
Exactly. Wonderful stuff. Yeah, we certainly look forward to that. In terms of this year, here we are again. We're back at Douglas Park. Obviously, we were at Hallberg Estates a season ago as we get the run here to the outside by Fouch, and he spins and makes a nice move. But let's talk about just the importance of being back here at Douglas. This is where it all started, way back in the early 1900s. So really important to be back here once again.
Yeah, this is the hallowed ground, for professional football. And in fact, I just found out this week, doing a little research on something for the game, that obviously I knew who Walter Flanagan was. He was one of the co-founders of the NFL, and he played some for the Independents, and he was team manager for the Independents. But I just found out this week he was also a graduate of Rock Island High School, which is like, that's just nuts, that there's that much NFL involvement here, and people don't think of, little old Rock Island is having that much influence on the game, but you think, oh, it's Chicago, LA, New York, but no, it was Rock Island, Illinois, and that's just huge.
I believe we have an interception.
Yeah, heading the other way.
Was that Greenspan that laid out and made that play for the Independents? And it was Sam Greenspan with a beauty of a pick, and the Independents get a takeaway as they will take over just past the 10-yard line. So Rock Island has it, still down 10-7 here in the 4th quarter. David, we talked about it earlier with Mayor Tomes while he was here sitting with us, speaking with us for a little bit. It's always interesting. You either have the people who know about the history and they're really into it and it's really interesting and they get it, and then you have a large amount of people here that don't even know about it. They might be football fans, but they just don't know about that history. Does that ever surprise you as somebody who obviously is knee-deep in it most of the time?
It surprises me because, obviously we have a very sports-oriented area here, in high school. football, high school basketball. You know, we've got the Steamwheelers, we've got the Storm, we've got the River Bandits. You know, and then we have all these club teams and Little League. I mean, there's just something sports going on all the time in the Quad Cities. And then, when you share information with somebody that, pro football started here, like, no, not in Rock Island. That was in, in New York. No, it wasn't. It was right here. And in fact, I just contacted a guy this week, and we've known each other for a few years, and he actually, this just floors me. He actually has a section of the scoreboard from the original Douglas Park that says Rock Island.
Wow.
And I tried to get him to bring it today, and he's just very protective of it.
Sure.
And I can understand that.
Yeah.
And I said, if you ever want to sell it, you let me know.
Exactly. Yeah, just a massive piece of history. That's incredible.
Wow. And I think for a lot of those people that don't know that happens here, when you have those conversations, what do you tell people about what happened here and about Rock Island's place in the NFL to kind of bring them up to speed?
You meet somebody that is in that situation, and a 2-minute acquaintance ends up being a 2-hour discussion, because there's just so much to talk about. And when they finally walk away, I mean, they're just pie-eyed. They're just, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. And then hopefully they share that information with others, and more people become more historically minded of what happened on this grassy yard many years ago.
And when you see the community out here as well, what does that tell you about this? As far as people continuing to come out and play in the game, but also plenty of people here watching it as well.
Yeah, it's nice to see obviously family members coming to support their players, but we're getting more of the community to come out and watch the game, and word spreads, and we put it on Facebook, and the media gets a hold of it here locally, and hopefully it keeps building and building, and it'd be great to have 8,000 people here like the Independents did back in the 20s, and that just blows my mind that we had that many people at this venue here. It's just thousands.
Well, we had a 4th down and short there for the Independents, and the ruling is a first down. There was a little bit of confusion over the middle there, the run for Herrera. Let's say he just ended up getting it. So the drive continues here for the Independents here in the 4th quarter, down 10-7 to the Universal Tractors. So how do we keep informing people of the history, David? Obviously, you've got your things going on, the events. You're here at all the events. You're doing all your knowledge. You've got the book coming out. How do we continue to get more people knowing about this massive piece of history that we have here in the area?
Just word of mouth. Obviously, the local media, helps out in it. And I can't say enough about Simon, putting all this on remotely. I mean, he does it from the Nashville area, and then he comes up here and puts on this, wonderful event, and it's, well run. You guys are here. We have vendors here, and, the city of Rock Island's engaged with it, and you just can't say enough. And Simon and I have had a few conversations over the past year or two that we would like to write a book on the history of the Independents. But we're both, he's raising small children and working, and I'm working and working on other side projects, and so one day we'll get to it, I hope, and really open a lot of people's eyes.
A unique factor here today is we have a little of the history of the Independents here. I know earlier you introduced us to the granddaughter of one of the coaches that's here, and then also on the Rock Island team, Mike Enholm out there. He's the grandson of a former player. When you're able to connect today's game with that history, that has to be kind of a cool thing as well for somebody who's very connected to it.
That's very cool. I know with Mrs. Creed over here, she has shared photographs with me of her grandfather who coached the Independents for 3 years right out of high school, and he had offers at major colleges to play football, and he was a phenomenal football and basketball player in high school, and he chose to coach the Independents, and they had very good success under him for 3 years. And then when he finally stepped aside, his brother Leon stepped in and coached them for a number of years. And she's shared pictures of him and pictures of him playing football with Rock Island High School and basketball with Rock Island High School, and and I'm working on history books of those two sports as well, and that just makes it more personal. It's not just scores and we played Moline 3 times this season, whatever. It really makes it personal that there's still a connection with the past, in today's modern world, and that just makes it even more special.
You said you're working on books about Rock Island football and basketball, kind of the history of.
Yes, I am.
There.
I've got the research is done basically, and I've got Jeff Wenlin. He's doing the writing of it. I was going to do it all myself, and I thought this is just overwhelming.
There's a lot there.
The research was overwhelming enough.
Yeah.
And then I asked Jeff. He's a great sports writer and a good friend and a classmate from high school, and he said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And the outpouring of the community has loaned me photographs and memorabilia. I had somebody donate a autographed Don Nelson basketball. I'm like, where did this come from? And he says, it's been in my closet. You guys might as well have it up at the high school. I'm like, this is just crazy. And photographs and programs and just information that it just makes the books come to life, and makes that connection once again with the past. And really looking forward to when those are done and I can finally put my feet up.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. And you kind of alluded to it as we have a third down here for Moline here in the fourth quarter. They're up by a score of 10-7. You alluded to it. I mean, there's just so much work research-wise, writing-wise, compiling all these different resources. And you've been at it for a number of years now. What is it that keeps you coming back, keeping on with this effort of trying to keep this history alive in the area?
I love history personally, and I want to share it with everybody and get everybody knowledgeable about what has happened. Whether it was on here at Douglas Park or whether it was at Rock Island High School. And just keeping those memories alive, I guess, and sharing that information with everybody. A little sidebar. I mean, on this field, or at least at this location, the University of Iowa played the University of Illinois here back in 1899. The very first time the two ever met, and the only time they ever met on a neutral field. And the Hawkeyes smoked them 58-0. And that's probably why they don't do it anymore on a neutral site. But how cool would that be to bring those two schools back and have them play, let's say, at Rock Island Stadium? Wow, that would be nuts.
So much history in Rock Island. We talked about that with Mayor Tomes earlier, as that one caught for a touchdown. Wow.
We've got a catch and a touchdown for the Universal Tractors. And it's now 16-7 as Moline gets the score. And I believe it might have been Trey Miranda who made the catch in the back of the end zone. We also have an injured Independent. Not what you like to see, but Ethan Blaze is back up, and he is making his way off the field. But the touchdown here for Moline, and they can extend this lead to 10 if they hit the extra point.
The touchdown interrupted, that great touchdown. I guess it's a good interruption. But we were talking to Mayor Tomes about it, and there's so much history when you look at Rock Island. And I think it kind of gets lost in the shuffle sometimes with, if people don't focus on it. But when you look at what's happening here at Douglas Park, when you look at the history of Rock Island football, basketball, when you look at those rivalries that they've had with Moline and Rock Island, I think it just goes to show that there is so much here, and it's really unique, to find that in such an area like this. It's not a major city as well.
Right. The passion in high school sports around here is just, off the charts, and obviously we're going to see it next Friday night up at the Public School Stadium when Rock Island plays Moline for the umpteenth time.
Yeah.
And I've lost track on how many times they played, but I did actually find this fact out, that Rock Island played Moline for the very first time back in November of 1886. Wow. And I actually found a ticket stub, a handwritten ticket stub. How crazy is that something like that has survived all this time? And they didn't play it here at Douglas Park. It was actually played over here on 12th Street and about 16th Avenue. There was a ballpark there.
Wow.
And it wasn't here at Douglas. Douglas existed, but not in the way that we think it did. There was an open field here basically, And obviously through some research, I found out that and this is just crazy too, that this was always a playground of whether it was football, baseball, but even the local Indians use this as their playground. I mean, that's going way back. That's even before Maritome's time. So,
Yeah, and that's an interesting point too. I mean, obviously we're here for the birth of professional football. We're sports focused, but this is really more than just a ball field. This is a community spot. I mean, you're talking about the very beginnings of the city of Rock Island. A lot of it ties back to this very location.
yes, it does. In fact, I know after Douglas Park kind of ran its course, with the Independence being here and the grandstands, the city of Rock Island almost put a swimming pool at this spot. Wow. And the neighborhood was against it, just vigorously against it. They wanted to keep it open and keep using it for its intended purpose. And then obviously they installed the pool up at Longview a number of years ago. But yeah, it's just nice that the community, even back then, thought, let's keep it sports oriented, and we're still here.
We're still here.
And it's continued to be a focus of Rock Island. I know that when we talked to Mayor Tomes, we went through everything that the Friends of Douglas Park have done here to be able to bring everything back. And even for people around the community, you come here and you say, the parking lots paved now. The baseball fields have some good grass on the infield. It just heightens what it looks like around here and starts to feel like it's not forgotten. I think for a little while it was kind of getting to that point where it's like, yeah, it's an old field. Everyone's kind of moved past it. But to be able to come out here today and see what's going on and see this park, I'm sure that has to be a great feeling as well, that this continues to be a place that holds that history.
Exactly. I mean, we've got green, lush grass, and they don't water it, but yet it's still green. And we haven't had much rain this summer. And like you say, the parking lot's paved. There's a wonderful concession stand, and the baseball field just to the south of us here is just pristine, and backstops and bleachers and lighting and fencing that isn't beaten down. It's turned into a showplace again, and that's wonderful for the city of Rock Island.
Yeah, we love to see it. We love to be here. We are wrapping this game up, so we're going to let you go, David. Thank you so much. As always, we appreciate your time, and we appreciate everything you do to continue to preserve this history and let people know just how special this place is. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
That is David Sieben. Always great to speak with him, get some insight. We're, of course, looking forward to those books that he's got coming out, really dealing with some really cool history. And you can always get a few stories out of him that are very, very impressive that you definitely didn't know about before.
To find a written ticket stub from the first Rock Island Moline game is unbelievable. As he mentioned, that it's even existed this long is crazy. I mean, it's one of the longest running rivalries. I think it is the longest running football rivalry in the state of Illinois. And to have that from the very first game, just a priceless artifact of history, just amazing.
I mean, a handwritten ticket stub from the 1800s. just the thought of that is almost unfathomable. Really, really cool stuff. We've got 3 seconds left here, so this more than likely will be the last play of the contest. Herrera looking, he'll load up. Now he'll dump it off. And the flat pass is complete. That's Driscoll. He'll lateral it back. We're still going, folks. And that is how this game will come to an end. Lots of smiles on the field. Another great game. And another win for the Moline Universal Tractors. A final score of 17-7. Moline turned it on after that second quarter. Rock Island scored the first touchdown of the game and did not score since.
That was a great game, and we saw a lot of defense early on, but in the end, the offense of Moline came through for the victory, and a beautiful day here at Douglas Park, and nice to be able to have this back at Douglas Park. I know last year we were over at Hallberg Estates. We were talking about everything that happened here at Douglas Park. It's nice to be able to show it off and feel that birth of football, professional football once again.
You can feel the spirit here, no doubt about it. A lot of history coming from this place. We're going to take a quick timeout. Come back and wrap things up after this on MC22. 17-7, the final score. Moline gets the win here in the 2022 Vintage Football game. Another fantastic game. This is the 7th game that they've played in this series. And once again, Steve, another competitive game between these guys. And it comes down to the end, but this time Moline's able to get the win again.
Yeah, it ended up being a 2-score game, but it was much closer than that throughout the game. It was that touchdown by Moline late that kind of turned it into just kind of running out the clock a little bit, but a very competitive game and a lot of fun out here. That's one of the biggest things. It's just a fun game. These players had a great time. The community around here, everybody really enjoyed themselves on a beautiful afternoon here in September.
Yeah, couldn't ask for a better day weather-wise as well. Let's come down to the field now with more on this. Is John Marks.
Luke, what made you decide that this is an important part of your weekend? And you know, you got Dougie out, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's an important part of my weekend because, one, it's fall football season. You know, that started up, a couple weeks ago, high school, college.
Yep.
The pro started Thursday, so it's like getting in that rhythm of watching games. And now when we can play a game, why not take that opportunity? So I started this probably 5 years ago.
Yep.
Was invited by some family. I knew
they told Dougie to get out of his house.
Yeah, and I told my friends to get out. Simon has been great. He's been doing a great job getting everyone together, getting all the equipment lined up and everything. It's just been great to just come out and put the jerseys on and play. So, yeah.
Talk about the difference in regular football and today's football and size of football, et cetera, et cetera. This is still a great time.
Yeah, the ball is definitely larger.
Yep.
Makes it incredibly difficult to pass. So a lot of conservative play calling, I guess. It's unless you really need the yardage, it's really hard to throw the ball. So a lot of quick shovel passes, maybe quick pitches to get the ball fast where it needs to go. So that's probably the biggest thing you'll see between this and what you watch on TV.
Luke, you talked about friends and your family getting you involved in friends. How have your friends responded? I see these are all guys you know.
Oh yeah, if they can make it, they can be here. So that's awesome. Everyone's busy in the fall and everything else with everything going on, but if their day's free, they like to be here. So it's great to play with them.
How important is this to you, others, to carry on this tradition?
I think it's important because, one, it's the history of this area.
Jim Thorpe played right over there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was 100 years ago, and 100 years ago, do you think people would be out here celebrating what they were able to accomplish 100 years ago? So that's pretty cool.
I'm glad you're having a good time.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, once again, the final score 17-7. Moline with the victory. We will wrap things up from the Vintage Football game after this. There's your final score, 17-7. Moline got the win here, the 2022 Vintage Football game. Another great game in the books, another great day of football and remembering what it was like when it all began here back in the 1920s. Now, we did get this announcement earlier before the game, but we want to take a moment to talk about the player spotlight this year. That's Edward Nips Murphy.
Yeah, the pictures that we'll be seeing here shortly provided by Simon Herrera and Murphy's family scrapbook. Murphy was a shorter but very speedy quarterback that was perfect for the famous Osborne shift. In 1914, he helped lead Clinton High School to the Iowa Football State Championship. That game would end in a 13-13 tie, so both teams were crowned champions. The next year, Murphy would play on the Notre Dame freshman team before becoming the Rock Island Independence quarterback. In his 2 years with the Independents, Murphy became team captain, went undefeated in 1917, and introduced the Osborne shift to the team. His career included 4 touchdown passes, 3 rushing touchdowns, and 3 receiving touchdowns. After his playing career, Murphy would answer the call of duty and join the Army during World War I. He would then go on to graduate from St. Louis University, play baseball for the Davenport Athletic Club, and get married and have 2 daughters.
I love to highlight some of those players from years past. Nips Murphy, the player that gets the spotlight this time around in the 2022 Vintage Football game. As, again, the final score 17-7, another good win for Moline. And one thing that you mentioned a little bit earlier, Steve, just even as the game came to an end, everybody had a smile on their face. It just seemed like people just enjoy being a part of this really special way to pay tribute to years past of the NFL.
And especially with this weekend kind of being the opening of the NFL season, I think there's a lot of football on the minds. And to be able to say this is where it began, not only in Rock Island, but right here at Douglas Park with the Rock Island Independence, to kind of have the Independence on showcase in this place that has been renovated, looks great, has become kind of a focal point of athletics here in Rock Island once again. I think it just adds a little atmosphere to everybody, and the sun's been shining. A great day here in Rock Island for sure.
Yeah, we had a great time as always, and looking forward to this one continuing for years to come. Again, the final score 17-7. The Moline Universal Tractors get the win over the Rock Island Independents. That's going to do it for us. For Steve Campbell, the rest of our great MC22 crew, Redrick Terry saying thanks so much for joining us. We bid you good day from Rock Island, where the Universal Tractors get another win in the vintage football game.